Hey, what's going on, everybody? I'm Noah from PhoneDog.com, and I've been playing with the new LG Versa for Verizon for past 3 or 4 days now. It's an interesting device. It's kind of funny. A lot was sort of leaked and rumored about this device before it came out. Kind of a successor to the Dare, but with this modular system, the snap-off keyboard. So here's the keyboard, and then you can kind of undock it from the phone and pop it out here. Sorry, I'll get it off camera for a second while I undock it. So you can pop it out, and then you can just use it as a standalone touchscreen phone, kind of like the Dare. And that's kind of what was rumored about it. And now that I've got it, it's interesting because the whole modular pop-off keyboard thing is really only half the story. A lot of the story with this phone, to me, is the new operating system. And then the third piece of it are the changes that LG made. And I don't know if it's fair to say changes from the Dare, because LG and Verizon never advertised the phone or positioned it as a Dare successor. And actually the model number VX9600 is one lower than the Dare, which is VX9700. So in some ways, I'm not trying to put words in Verizon or LG's mouth saying it's successor to the Dare, but it's kind of hard not to draw the comparisons. Same manufacturer, same carrier, same basic design, compact touchscreen phone, but then it's the newest compact touchscreen VCAS phone to come out from LG and Verizon, and it's got these new features. But then there are certain things about the phone that are almost kind of like downgrades from the Dare. So really kind of interesting. In some ways what I expected, in some ways not what I expected. Some pleasant surprises about the device, some disappointments. So let's get me off the camera, let's get the phone on the camera, and let's take a closer look at the LG Versa VX9600, the newest touchscreen VCAS phone for Verizon from LG. Alright, so the deal with the Versa is this. In the box, we showed you on the unboxing video, which you can check out if you want to see everything that you get. But in the box, you get, the charger, the data cable, the battery, of course, the manuals, whatever. And then you get the phone and one snap-on module, the QWERTY keyboard. Now, from what I've heard, there will be other snap-on modules available, I guess from Verizon, not from LG necessarily. But there'll be a gaming module that has some kind of a D-pad with buttons on it, and there'll be some sort of a speaker module, and who knows what else. Really interesting idea, and in a way, it's a good innovative attempt to solve the problem of touchscreen phones are so versatile because you can put buttons wherever you want on the phone, and depending on what your mode you're in, you can have a keyboard, you can not have a keyboard, whatever. But the one big drawback is that touchscreen, the majority of people would say, not everyone, but the majority of people would say that there's no touchscreen phone that has a keyboard that's as good to type on as a full-on QWERTY keyboard. But then again, not everybody wants a full-on keyboard because not everybody types that much. Some people use their phones exclusively for texting and IMing and emailing and tweeting and all that. Some people don't at all. So, this attempts to kind of solve that problem with these snap-on modules. The thing is, there's a major design flaw here, if you ask me. And that is that in order to dock and undock the phone from, and we'll get the light on here, we'll turn the light off in a minute when we go to look at the screenshots to reduce the glare, but just to show you the physical nature of it. The design flaw is that when you go to dock and undock the phone from the QWERTY board module, you actually have to take the back panel off of the phone. So there's a little latch mechanism here. You slide it, you pop the back panel off, which isn't really that hard, I'm just kind of klutzy. And then then it exposes the little dock connector here, and then you snap that in to your module, and now you've got the keyboard module in place. The problem with this that I foresee is that people are gonna lose this back plate. If you take, if you wanna actually use the phone like back and forth in both modes and kind of have this thing with you, I can see myself losing this back plate within the first week that I had the device because I would swap it back and forth and eventually leave this somewhere. It would fall out of my bag. I'd be on the subway commuting or something and I'd swap it out and I'd accidentally leave this thing behind, whatever. I really wish that LG had found a way to make the phone dockable with the back plate in place. Like maybe instead of, this thing only, releasing everything, maybe they somehow could have had a spring-loaded mechanism that covered up the docking plate, or even just a plastic cap, just a plastic cap like they use to cap the USB port here. They could have had one of those over the dock connector, and then you just snap it in, and then, you know, maybe the actual module itself has the little spring-loaded mechanism to eject or to release the backplate. But as it is now, you take the phone out of the QWERTY board, and you've got this exposed phone with your battery exposed there and the innards of the phone, and if you lose your backplate, you know, you're stuck, and you're kind of relegated to keeping the phone docked into the module, which I think is kind of a drag. Now, maybe the designers thought, you know, this isn't meant to be like a you're always switching it back and forth kind of thing, but why not give people the option? Why not make it as totally versatile as it can be, especially if the phone's named the Versa? That being said, the phone actually works really well, and the keyboard... Okay, hang on. What I meant was that the phone's software generally works really well. The voice quality was actually kind of so-so. Sometimes it was fine, sometimes the sound quality was kind of mediocre, and on several calls that I did, the person I was talking to, well, we just kind of cut in and out on each other for no apparent reason. So-so on the voice quality. And the keyboard actually works much better than I was afraid or thought it might. Even though it's a very shallow keyboard, it's a chiclet style and it's very shallow, the key action is actually not that bad. It's pretty comfortable to type on. I was trying this out. You know, it's not quite a BlackBerry quality, but I actually was testing out using this and using the T-Mobile HTC G1 a lot this week. I found this keyboard more comfortable than the G1 just because the actual action of the keys is easier. So the keyboard's pretty good. It has a little not virtual, but a little D-pad kind of thing down here, a little cursor down there, which definitely helps. Some of the keys, you know, there's a done key, which kind of doubles as select sometimes, and that just takes a little getting used to. And, you know, just kind of the layout of the keys, there's some stuff that I kept hitting return when I meant to hit delete, that kind of thing, just because return is below delete, but I don't know why I was expecting it lower. I don't know what it is, probably me more than the keyboard. The keyboard has its own quirks like any keyboard does. It's got an @ symbol, which doubles as a .com button, which I really like. It's got the double-wide spacebar, which I really like, and it's got dedicated number keys, which I really like, especially because some of the phone's menus and some mobile websites now use the number keys as shortcuts. Like on Twitter, there are number keys that double as shortcuts, so that's really handy. As for the phone itself, it's smaller than the Dare. The screen is noticeably smaller, but it's higher res. And in some cases that's great, and some not so great. In particular, on the home, just the basic menu screens and background screens, it's great. You get a really crisp, high-res image. I mean, the graphics here, the background looks great. The UI is really snappy. You can see when you swipe going, it's got this 3 menu system, which I'll show you in a second, but when you go from menu to menu, you know, it's really snappy, it works really well. When you get into browsing web pages, it's actually kind of a pain because it for some reason, and I think it has to do partially with the smaller screen size, it's actually really difficult to click on web links. And my biggest complaints with the phone are the design flaw I already mentioned with, you know, having to take off the back plate to dock and undock the phone from the modules. And then the web browser. The web browser is very functional and does a pretty good job for a non-smartphone of rendering out HTML pages, and it has some Flash support even. But it's really, really hard to click on links when you're in the web browser. They even include a little stylus to use. And that helps some, but you shouldn't really have to use the stylus, and it's just way too difficult to click on links. Now here with these Verizon links, you know, it's not too bad because they're big buttons on the Verizon deck. But when you get into using, you know, non-Verizon actual websites, like here, trying to click in a text box, you know, can be just incredibly difficult. I'm having an okay time with it now, but you know, 3 clicks, 2 clicks, that's 1 click too many at minimum. Some of the other pages I've gone to, just a really difficult time trying to get, you know, trying to click on little tiny hyperlinks. We'll go to, see some of the sites I've been looking at. We'll go to, let's go to the Phone Dog. So you can use the landscape, the virtual keyboard here, landscape or portrait mode. You can go to, whoops, you've got your full-on, your T9 style keyboard here. You can do handwriting recognition, or you can tilt the phone to get your full-on keyboard in widescreen mode. We'll go to Phone Dog, it'll load up. It's a 3-inch screen, it's a widescreen form factor. It feels much smaller to me than the Dare did. I think because the phone when you're holding it in widescreen mode, it's pretty short from top to bottom, and the Verizon menus and the LG menus tend to take up a decent amount of space. And so your actual area for looking at content's pretty small. You've got, you know, your URL bar and then your tabs. It's actually tab browsing, so you can click between different tabs here, which is kind of neat. I don't know how really useful it is on a cell phone, especially one this small, but kind of neat. And then your menus on the bottom. But then you go full screen mode, and the browser really works quite well. I mean, you can see it's rendered.